Welcome back to your shadows. Yes, you, the one watching this with a heart that's learned how to fold itself into someone else's comfort. Let's talk about something the world has spent centuries trying to silence in you: anger. If you're a woman, you've been trained to be soft, to be small, to be careful with your edges, be graceful, be nice, be anything but loud. Anger. They told you it's dangerous, unbecoming, unladylike. But what if they lied? What if anger isn't bad? What if it's sacred? Not a flaw, but a compass. Not a fire meant to destroy, but one that shows you exactly where your truth was crossed, where your boundaries were broken, where your soul whispered, "This is not okay." Myth remembers women like this. Jung called them shadows, not because they are dark, but because they've been hidden. Lilith, Medusa, the feminine that refused to make herself palatable. They didn't lose themselves in anger. They found themselves through it. Anger is the voice that rises when the soul is done whispering. And when you listen, you don't explode, you align. Modern Stoicism says, don't react, respond. Don't suppress the fire, shape it, channel it. Let it guide you to what's yours and what never was. Polarity teaches, anger is both feminine and masculine. Feminine in its intuition, the sacred no felt in your chest before you can name it. Masculine in its action, the firm line, the boundary drawn, the truth spoken. You are not here to be pleasant. You are here to be whole. Even if that means being misunderstood. Even if that means being angry. So today, we're going there. Into the myth. Into the muscle. Into the mirror. To unlearn the fear and remember the flame. Because anger, when honored, doesn't make you dangerous. It makes you clear. Let's begin. Let's start with a heresy, a sacred disruption, a truth we were taught to fear. Anger is not your enemy. It's your compass. A fire, yes, but one that points home. For centuries, we were told a different story. Be nice, be quiet, be patient. Be the girl who never cries too loud, who never raises her voice, unless it's in song. And if that fire ever slipped through, they called it a tantrum, a breakdown, a hormone, a shame. But what if that fire was never wrong? What if it was sacred? What if it was trying to lead you back to a part of yourself you were told to bury? Let's go deeper. Anger has always been feared in women, because it's the first sign she remembers she is not okay with the way things are. And that remembering, it threatens everything. They've done it before. Lilith, demonized for walking away. Medusa, made monstrous for turning pain into power. Both punished for saying, "This stops with me." And now, you feel it too. That same fire, that same remembering. From a Jungian lens, anger lives in the shadow. The psychic basement where we bury everything deemed unacceptable. Not because it's wrong, but because it's dangerous to systems that need you small. Jung didn't say, kill the shadow. He said, integrate it. Your anger isn't a flaw. It's a flashlight. It says, something's off. Come closer. Listen. You've been taught to suppress it, swallow it, make it pretty. But anger that's buried doesn't die. It festers. It sharpens. It turns outward or in. Let's get clear. There's destructive anger, the kind that burns after years of silence. And yes, it hurts, but it only erupts because it was ignored. Then there's healthy anger, And this is where the compass lives. The kind that says, enough. No more. This doesn't serve me. That kind? That's not a wound, it's wisdom. Healthy anger is a fire that illuminates. It shows you where you lost yourself and offers a map back to your center. Anger doesn't always arrive as fire. Sometimes it comes in silence, in the pause after a comment that went too far, but you laughed anyway. In the tight jaw when someone calls you dramatic for setting a boundary you needed to survive. It hides in clenched teeth, polished smiles, perfectly timed, "it's fine" replies. You learn to make it quiet, because that's how you were taught to be safe. You weren't born afraid of your anger. It was trained out of you. Bit by bit, you learned. Anger is ugly. Anger is unlovable. Anger makes people leave. So it sank deeper, quieter, smarter, until it wore disguises even you didn't recognize. Let's name them. Sarcasm, humor with a blade beneath it, exhaustion, when your soul's been screaming no, but your mouth kept saying yes. Anxiety, when your nervous system becomes a battlefield between who you are and who they told you to be. People-pleasing, a polished performance built on suppression. These aren't flaws. They're symptoms, evidence, clues. Jung would call this the unconscious shadow in motion. Unprocessed anger doesn't disappear. It shapeshifts into self-doubt, into shame, into edges turned inward. Not because you're weak, but because your power was never taught how to breathe. Let's be real. It's easier to explode than to listen, to sit with it and ask, where is this anger coming from? What value was just crossed? What part of me feels betrayed? And what will I do with that truth? That's where Stoicism meets the feminine. Not in suppression, but in sovereignty. Feel the fire, then choose. That's the discipline. You don't owe the world a meltdown, but you do owe yourself the truth. And the truth is, your anger isn't asking for war. It's asking for witnessing. The feminine part of you says, something isn't right. The masculine part responds, let me protect you now. Both are sacred. Both are yours. Both come alive when anger is honored. Now let's talk patterns. Let's talk memory in the body. Because your anger, it lives in your muscles, in your posture, in your breath. The shoulders that hunch when you walk into certain rooms. That's not shyness. That's memory. The way your voice gets smaller when authority is in the room. That's not modesty. That's survival reflex. The sudden fatigue after a family gathering, a long Zoom call, a text exchange with someone you haven't forgiven. That's anger. Speaking a language you haven't fully decoded yet. The body remembers what the mind tries to forget. And sometimes the fire is stored in your neck, your gut, your womb, waiting for you to say, I hear you now. Anger doesn't need to be explained. It needs to be moved through writing, through breath work, through quiet no contact, through untangling yourself from stories that never fit you. Let's return to Lilith and Medusa for a moment. Lilith didn't explode. She exited. Medusa didn't plead. She transformed. They didn't abandon their anger. They alchemized it. That's the art. Not repressing, not raging, rewriting, redirecting, reclaiming. And this isn't about never getting triggered again. You will. Anger will still rise. You're human. But next time it does, pause. Don't run. Don't shame it. Don't edit it. Just ask, what part of me just woke up? What needs to be protected right now? What am I no longer willing to carry? This isn't rage. It's recognition, not chaos. but clarity. Anger is not a flaw in your femininity. It is proof you haven't forgotten who you are. In the next part, we'll talk about how to respond when that anger speaks. Because naming it is power. But choosing what to do with it, that's liberation. So ask yourself tonight, where have I been silent out of fear of being too much? Where have I swallowed the truth to keep the peace? And what would it feel like to stop? You are not dangerous because you feel. You are dangerous because now you see, and you won't forget again. There's a moment. You know the one. That breath before the no. That pause before you finally say what's been burning in your chest for years. It's quiet, but it's holy. Because in that moment, you stop abandoning yourself. You've spent years being the peacekeeper, the soft-spoken, the forgiver, the one who explains and excuses and swallows your own pain so no one else has to feel uncomfortable. You wore understanding like armor. You called it grace. You called it growth. But deep down, you knew. You were bleeding for people who never once thought to hand you a bandage. Anger is the soul's way of saying enough. And when you finally let yourself feel it, not explode, not run, but feel it with reverence, that's the moment your boundaries begin to build themselves, not out of spite, not out of ego, but out of sacred self-respect. Jung called this the individuation process, the return to the self, the reclaiming of all the parts you gave away just to be loved. And here's the truth. No one wants to say out loud. They liked you better when you didn't know your worth. They liked you quieter, more convenient, more pliable. But you were dying inside that version of yourself. You're not trying to hurt anyone. You're trying to stop hurting yourself. There is a difference. And the first time you say, "That's not okay with me," the first time you don't answer that message, the first time you walk away instead of explaining one more time, that's when you remember. Your anger is your compass. Your boundaries are the map. And here's what they don't tell you. The first boundary burns the worst, not because it's wrong, but because it disrupts the entire performance. You're not playing your old role anymore. You're not nodding on cue. You're rewriting the script while still on stage. And yeah, some people will leave the theatre. Let them. This show is for you now. You want to talk about the dark feminine? It's not just rage. It's clarity. It's the voice that says, "I love you, but I will not betray myself for you again." It's not chaos. It's consequence. It's not destruction. It's discernment. Let's return, one last time, to Lilith and Medusa. Lilith didn't scream. She didn't beg. She left. And her absence rewrote everything. Medusa didn't apologize for being transformed. She didn't make herself smaller to fit someone else's comfort. They both stood in their pain and let it make them holy. That's your template. You don't need to be louder. You need to be rooted. You don't need to convince. You need to know. Let's breathe here. If your anger could speak today, what would it say? Not to them, to you. What have you tolerated just to keep the peace? What have you hidden because you feared being too much? What would your life look like if your truth was the loudest voice in the room? The obstacle is the way. Marcus Aurelius. Anger isn't the obstacle. Denial is. Anger is the way. Because it points you to the places where you stopped being yourself just to survive. So, this is your invitation, not to rage, not to destroy, but to awaken, to step into the exact version of yourself you were told was dangerous. Because they weren't afraid of your anger. They were afraid of what you'd do with it once you knew it was holy. This is not the end. This is the door. In the next part, we go even deeper. How do you alchemize that anger into art, action, clarity, peace? How do you become your own protector without becoming hard? How do you lead without losing your softness? That's where we're going. But tonight, look in the mirror. See the fire in your own eyes. And don't look away. You don't need to burn the world down. You just need to stop dimming your own light. Here's the truth no one tells you after the fire. Anger doesn't stay loud. It doesn't stay sharp. Once it's heard, really heard, it softens. Not into weakness, but into wisdom. That's the power of transmutation, the shift from rage to rootedness, from the flash of reaction to the quiet of embodied clarity. You don't have to scream anymore. You don't have to prove anything. When anger is metabolized, it becomes direction. It becomes devotion. Not to a person, not to a cause, but to the truth that lives in your bones. Think of it like alchemy, the inner forge. Anger, when left unprocessed, burns indiscriminately. But when channeled with intention, it becomes a holy fire, one that clears the path, one that shows you what you can no longer carry. You begin to feel it, that no you used to fear saying. It becomes a full body truth, a sentence made of spine. This isn't about reacting, it's about refining. That's where Stoicism enters again. Not to suppress emotion, but to own it. Marcus Aurelius never said, don't feel. He said, don't be ruled. There's a difference between being consumed by fire and being warmed by it. You don't have to react with chaos when you've integrated the storm. This is the feminine in her full power. Not just the mother, not just the lover, but the protector. She who guards her temple not with swords, but with sacred discernment. You are not here to be palatable. You are here to be true. And when you learn how to sit with your anger, not flinch from it, you find its root. Beneath the heat, there's usually grief. Beneath the grief, there's a boundary that was never honored. And beneath that, a value you hold sacred. You don't need to fight to prove you matter. You need to remember you do. Anger was just trying to remind you of the places you forgot. That's why it shows up again and again. Not to punish you, but to wake you up, to say, you still haven't spoken. You're still shrinking. You're still giving what they don't deserve. And then it waits for you to choose you. Let's talk polarity again. This moment, the one where you no longer react but respond from truth. That sacred integration. The feminine listens, she senses, she feels the tremor before the storm. The masculine acts. He protects. He speaks the line and enforces it. When those two meet within you, your anger no longer owns you. You own your presence. So how do you get there? Let it move through you, not out at others, not buried deep, but through your body. Let it write, let it dance, let it cry in the bath if it needs to. You're not broken. You're processing fire into form. And form becomes a life. Not reactive, but rooted. A life where your no doesn't shake, where your silence isn't self-abandonment, but self-respect, where your softness is no longer a cage, but a choice. So many women fear becoming hard. But here's the sacred truth. The goal isn't to become hard, it's to become whole. Hardness is reaction. Wholeness is wisdom. You don't have to become bitter. You have to become honest. You don't need to wear armor. You need to wear truth. Let's anchor in a mantra. My anger is a guide, not a god. My truth is sacred. My no is sacred. I don't have to explain it. I just have to feel it. This is the art of transmutation. Not burning bridges, but building boundaries so you don't drown again. Not isolating, but choosing sacred solitude when your spirit needs stillness. not hurting others, but finally refusing to let them hurt you. This is where your power lives now. Not in volume, not in performance, but in presence, in the way you walk away, in the way you choose peace over proving, in the way you no longer betray your body to keep the peace in a room that doesn't see you. So tonight, here's your sacred task. Write down what your anger has been trying to tell you. Ask it, where did I abandon myself? Where did I silence my truth? Where do I need to rise? And then, listen. Because transmutation begins with one thing, honesty. And you, my love, you've been silent long enough. In the final part of this episode, we're going to talk about rituals of integration. How to live in alignment with your fire without letting it consume you. We'll talk healing. We'll talk forgiveness. We'll talk the quiet strength of the woman who doesn't flinch anymore. The woman who walks in her full spectrum, from flame to stillness, from fury to grace. That's what's coming. Let's go there together. So now what? You've named the fire. You've sat with it. You've stopped running from it. And here you are. Not broken, but whole. Not smaller, but truer. This is the moment you no longer just understand your anger. You integrate it. You wear it like armor you no longer need to raise. It lives in you like breath, present, steady, sacred. This isn't about unleashing chaos. This is about coming home. To a version of you who doesn't apologize for having a backbone. To a self that no longer seeks permission to speak, to feel, to protect what's holy. Here's what most people miss. Healing isn't the absence of fire. It's the friendship with it. You're not here to become a blank slate. You're here to become alive. To listen to your sacred no, as deeply as you honor your compassionate yes. Let's ground it in ritual now. Because transformation isn't just emotional. It's physical, energetic, real. Here are 3 rituals for walking with your flame. Ritual 1, the sacred mirror. Stand in front of the mirror. No makeup, no posing, just presence. Look into your own eyes and say, I honor the fire in me. I don't fear it. I follow it. Say it again and again until your body believes it, not just your mind, your cells. Ritual 2, the burn letter. Write to someone you've never allowed yourself to be angry with. Say everything you've swallowed. Don't hold back. Don't self-censor. When you're done, burn it. Watch the flame consume what was never meant to live inside you. Ashes return to earth. You return to yourself. This isn't revenge. It's release. Ritual 3, the sacred walk. Take a walk with no destination. Let your body lead. Each step ask, what truth do I need to walk toward? What lie do I need to leave behind? Let your feet speak what your mouth never could. There is wisdom in motion. These rituals aren't magic spells. They're remembrance. Each one brings you closer to the part of you that already knows. That already is. Because here's the most important truth. You don't need to become more. You need to shed what isn't you. You are not too much. You were just born in a world that wanted you quiet. You are not too emotional. You're just fluent in a language others forgot how to speak. You are not here to be convenient. You are here to be clear. Let's anchor in one final reflection. When anger rises again, and it will, don't panic. Don't judge it. Don't exile it. Greet it like an old friend bringing news from your deeper self. Ask it, what are you here to protect? What boundary have I neglected? What do I love enough to fight for? And then respond with devotion. That's what real power looks like. Your anger is not a flaw. It's a compass, a prayer with heat, a truth with a pulse. You don't have to bury it anymore. Let it guide you. Let it guard you. Let it grow you. If this message reached a hidden part of you, share it in the comments. Tell us, I'm learning to be angry in a sacred way. This is how we heal. Together.